Hello everybody. Yes, it's me again. So soon. I know, crazy, isn't it? Eh? Two videos in what's that, 3 or 4 days now. Um, no, I just wanted to check in with everyone again, and also address a comment I had in the comment section. A lot of people have been getting in touch, asking questions, talking about their experiences. Also had a lot of new subscribers as well, getting dangerously close to 500 now. So if you haven't already subscribed and you like the videos, then do drop us a subscription. It would mean a fair bit to me, to be honest. But someone put in the comments, asked a question: what's your biggest loss? How big was your biggest loss, or something like that? Words to that effect, anyway. And that's a perfectly fair question. It's actually a question that I get asked, a reasonable amount. It's a question also you see a lot of people in sort of the gambling sphere being asked and asking other people, what's your biggest loss? And sometimes what's your biggest win? But more often than not, people are actually more interested in the losses. And that's absolutely fine. I think that's normal human nature, isn't it? Apart from a bit of Schadenfreude, I think there's a certain element of sort of morbid curiosity, isn't there? People want to sort of hear about gambling disasters in the same way that people want to read about or hear about disasters in general. It's just a part of the human psyche to want to know, what's what was your worst case scenario? What's the worst thing that ever happened? And yeah, I'm happy to answer it. It doesn't bother me, and I will answer it in this video. I think as well, coming from a gambling background and a sort of professional, so to speak, gambling background, the winning stories, the stories where you spawn something, or you get a quick result, or you have a particularly good day, yeah, they're nice at the time, you do share them, but the stories that linger, and the stories that you always retell, and the stories that realistically, after the pain had gone away, the funniest ones were always the losing stories, And so, yeah, it's totally understandable that people want to know, what your biggest loss was and how much you lost, and just how much carnage was there. And like I say, I'm always very happy to answer that. I think honesty is incredibly important, both when you're gambling and in your recovery. In my experience, it's when you start lying about your losses, or even lying about your winnings, or lying about your stakes in general, that maybe you're doing something to cover up a problem, and maybe there's something there that needs to be addressed. So anyway, before I answer that, let me tell you why I don't think. You know what? Actually, you're going to be curious. So let me tell you. My biggest loss on a day, I think, was about £4 grand. Might be slightly less. It might have been slightly more. I can't remember. But my biggest loss inside of a day was about £4,000. Now that was actually just a really, really long losing session online. So there's nothing really particularly exciting about that. I think one of the more interesting losses I had was back in the very early days of online casinos. I deposited, I think, £20. It was back when everything was actually still in dollars. You couldn't actually get an online casino that paid in pounds. And I think I deposited 20 quid or something like that, and played blackjack. And I built it up to $3,500, which yes, I was quite young at the time, and that was obviously a huge amount of money. And then I came in that night after a few beers, as is my way, and I lost it all in the space of, well, absolutely no time whatsoever. And that was that was my first really big loss, and yeah, I mean that really hurt at the time, but yeah, like I say, £3,500-4,000 is probably my biggest loss in a day. But it's kind of irrelevant. I think your big losses are sort of irrelevant, because when I lost that money, I could afford it. I mean, it really hurt, and I woke up the next day feeling like absolute shit. In a really bad mood. The annoying thing was, from memory, it was actually a Friday, which means that it kind of wrote off the weekend, because I was basically just a grumpy bastard then for the rest of the weekend. But yeah, at the time, it wasn't going to cause any issues to my lifestyle. Sorry, there's a wasp. Just waiting for him to bugger off. Any issues to my lifestyle. It wasn't going to stop me from paying my rent or anything. But it was just a horrible loss. The worst losses are not necessarily the really big ones. I mean, the worst losses I've had have probably been when you're a week until payday, and you've got 50 quid left for your food and your drinks and whatever, and maybe even phone bill or something, for the rest of the month, and you're down to your last 50 quid in the bank account, and you lose it. That, to me, is a far worse loss, a far more damaging loss, because you're losing your bottom dollar, you're losing money that you can't actually afford. And that is ultimately the thing. The size of the monetary size of the loss is, it's not irrelevant, but it becomes irrelevant, because everyone's standing, everyone's status, everyone's financial position is different. To some people, maybe a £4,000 loss is perfectly affordable, perfectly acceptable, To others, that could be their life savings, be everything they own and more. So the actual physical size of the loss is neither here nor there. It's how it affects your life. It's how it makes you feel. Losing that last 50 quid you have in your bank, which probably would have got you some food, would have got you a crate of beer to see you through the rest of the month or whatever. Losing that is going to have far much more of an impact on you than, say, losing a couple of £100, which you can quite easily afford to lose. So it's not the size of the loss. I'm happy to talk about big losses, but it's really not the size of the loss. It's the effect it has on you. It's the way it makes you feel. And if you are waking up in the morning with that horrible, sinking, gut-wrenching feeling where you just know that you've caused yourself actual harm, where you've caused yourself damage, and where you're going to now struggle for the rest of the month and have to battle through to payday, beg, stealing and borrowing to get by, that is when you know it's the problem. It's not the actual amount you've lost. I hope that makes some sort of sense. Sorry if the video's been a bit all over the place. I haven't scripted it. I'm out on a walk and I keep getting attacked by wasps. Yeah, it may have affected my train of thought somewhat, but I hope the general message comes over. Like I say, always happy to ask you questions, and thanks for posting them. I'm always happy to answer them. But yeah, when it comes to losses, it's the impact it has. It's the the effect of the loss rather than the size of it, I think, that really, really matters. And if you're having losses that cause you problems, that leave you skint, that leave you that real deep gut-wrenching feeling in your stomach every morning, then's the time to really think, you know what, I need to address this. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.